Well, this is going to be a disappointing news video to make because I am a big fan of Spider-Man. And we got to talk about Spider-Man 2 because this game was incredibly great when it initially came out. It dropped in October of 2023, and personally, I became very obsessed with it. I mean, just getting a chance to swing around as both Peter Parker and Miles Morales. I thought the story was great. I ended up platinuming it. I mean, I'm such a Spider-Man dork. I even got the Venom controller they released. But the story itself was very obviously incomplete. It's just part of a grander scope that they're trying to tell with Spider-Man. But I think a lot of us assumed we were eventually going to get some downloadable content, some sort of extra piece of story bit, because there are so many loose ends, there's so many extra things that definitely need to be tied up. And additionally, the previous game, Spider-Man 2018, that had DLC that was incredibly good. Well, Sony has just announced they are done with Spider-Man 2. They're not doing any expansions or story stuff or anything. It's just dead. And a lot of fans are not happy about this, but I want to take a look at the news and explain why people are so disappointed by this. I hope you're having a great day, and if you could, please give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already. So currently, the New York ComicCon is going on. It's sort of like a big gathering of geeks where we get all sorts of sort of cool insider news and stuff about video games and the industry and stuff like that. Well, Marvel had a panel where they announced Spider-Man 2 is coming to PC, and that is going to look incredibly good. I mean, even these screenshots look incredibly good, but they also ended off by confirming this. We have no additional story content planned for Spider-Man 2, but we are delighted to bring all previously released post-launch content to the PC version, including new game plus, new suits, blah, blah, blah. Now, a lot of fans are very, very unhappy. In fact, if you even scroll to the comments, people are saying, okay, so the stuff is just scrapped after the Giga leak. Rest in peace, DLC. Now, a lot of people are shocked because this is something we've already seen. The Giga leak. Now, I reported on this when it initially happened, but some hackers managed to break into Insomniac early this year, late last year, and they found basically terabytes of raw data about Spider-Man, about Ratchet and Clank, about all sorts of stuff, including a build of Wolverine. And inside of that was a lot of stuff specifically about Spider-Man 2, about Venom, and about what's coming next, including like a multiplayer Spider-Man game that was already canceled. But inside of this, there was DLC. We already saw pieces, names, titles, and stuff for the Spider-Man 2 DLC. Now, obviously, plans can change. It's not like it's instantly set in stone. They don't have some sort of contractual obligation where they're forced to release it. But anybody who saw those leaks, it was obvious that it was in full-blown production. In fact, the voice actor for Venom, Tony Todd, even talked about recording a bunch of lines he said that were not in the game that he thought were part of DLC. And I guess none of that stuff is happening. Now, I must say, I'm disappointed just because, honestly, I thought it was so good. I loved the Spider-Man 2's story. I loved how it sort of concluded the tale of Peter Parker and really set up Miles Morales to be the main Spider-Man. I mean, it looked so good, it played so good, and a lot of people are saying, this is trash. All those side story beats that are in Spider-Man 2 are just going to be saved for the next game. Hopefully the Venom game is still a thing and it's addressed. Yeah, so one of the other things that was in the leak was a Venom standalone game, which, I mean, is cool. I'm excited for that as well, but I always assumed, I guess ignorantly, that we were going to get some downloadable content that would better set that up, because at the end of the game, Venom is still a bad guy. He's a very, very bad guy. So the idea of him getting a game next doesn't really make sense without some sort of setup. This is just so weird. Now, this is canceled DLC. I guess by this point, the game is a year old. They shouldn't be that surprising. I have also some people sort of talking about the fact the game only sold 11 million copies. They've now confirmed it sold 11 million copies, and some people are considering that to be a failure. I guess I'm not, because, I mean, anything that sells over 10 million copies is pretty damn impressive to me. But also, There's only, 70 million PlayStation 5s out there, so it does mean just a pretty good chunk of total PlayStation 5 owners ended up picking up Spider-Man 2. So to me, that seems like a success, but maybe to Sony's eyes, maybe to Marvel, somebody inside the company decided that 11 million was not enough to bother with downloadable content. Because let's face facts, making DLC is incredibly expensive because you do have to mocap it, to write it, to make all that extra stuff, probably making extra character models and all sorts of new enemies and stuff like that. It's not cheap. DLC continues to get more expensive, and only a tiny fraction of a player base is actually going to buy it. Like, let's just assume even 10%. If 1 million people buy your DLC and you spent millions of dollars on it, is that enough to break even? I guess that's the cost-benefit analysis that they determined was not worth it. But this is the thing that was in the leaked DLC, the Beetle villain arc. It was going to be Beetle, Carnage, and Spider-Verse. All of this is now officially scrapped. You can even see all these titles. Hopefully this video doesn't get taken down. Be sure to like it in case it disappears. I think that it sucks this got completely scrapped, but hopefully this just means the next Spider-Man game is closer than we think. Hopefully this means that we're going to be getting the Venom game sometime soon. Or best case scenario, it could be that they're fully focused on working on the Wolverine game. Insomniac is not a very big studio. I know it seems like it because of how much stuff they put out and how polished their products are, but they're really not that gargantuan compared to other studios that Sony is doing stuff with. So the fact that they managed to even put out this much stuff, maybe it just came down to a calculation where they went, okay, we could do Spider-Man DLC, we could do that multiplayer Spider-Man game, or we could just focus on finishing Venom and finishing Wolverine, and I guess they picked the latter. As a huge fan of Spider-Man, I am incredibly disappointed. I even, during the last State of Play stream, I kept saying Spider-Man 2 DLC, Spider-Man 2 DLC between every single trailer because it seemed so obvious. It is kind of baffling that we're getting DLC for Astrobot. We got DLC for God of War. We got DLC for all these other games that did seem to sell less than Spider-Man 2, and Spider-Man 2 isn't getting an expansion, but it is what it is. What do you guys think about this? Is this as big a deal to you as it is to me? I'm disappointed, but I guess not surprised. Tell me your thoughts in the comments down below, and if you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and please keep dreaming. Boo hiss. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.